Under a grey November sky, the French presidential campaign has officially begun. Until the 5th of December, the world of politics will remain calm. Only the speeches of the various candidates on the radio and television will punctuate this all-important fortnight. The Control Committee, using a special machine normally reserved for selecting the winning numbers of the National Lottery, determined the order in which the candidates would be able to use the facilities of the ORTF. The first name to be selected was that of Maître Tixier-Vignancourt, followed by Messrs Mitterrand, Barbu, and Marcy-Lacy. General de Gaulle was fifth, while Monsieur Jean Le Canuet came last. Monsieur Barbu is a last-minute candidate. He does not belong to any political party. He is in fact the perfect independent. Another candidate, Monsieur Entier, who represented the independent peasant movement, announced that he was standing down in favor of Monsieur Le Canuet. In order to aid the normal operation of the election campaign and the vote which will take place on Sunday, the 5th of December, the French National Assembly adjourned its proceedings. While awaiting the elections, life continues, and the new academic year of the French university began normally at the beginning of the month. As usual, the official opening ceremony took place in the presence of Monsieur Christian Fouché, the Minister of Education, and Monsieur Jean Roche, the Rector of Paris University. The academic staff wore their ceremonial robes for an event which still contains solemnity and tradition. This year, owing to the post-war bulge, the number of students in France has risen even more. This November, there are 120,000 students in Paris and more than 400,000 in French universities. In order to cope with this increase, the government has launched a building and expansion program in all French university centres, both in Paris and in the provinces. The result, 65,000 new places. One typical example of this expansion is a new faculty at Nanterre, a few miles from the centre of Paris. Here, as everywhere, the accent has been placed on the residential nature of the centre. Indeed, the number of beds placed at the disposal of French students is now 5 times greater than in 1958. There has also been activity in the diplomatic world. Mr. Schroeder, the West German foreign minister, came to Paris for talks with Monsieur Maurice Coupe de Murville. After these talks, Mr. Schroeder said that there were joint problems which certainly might give rise to difficulties, but there was a community of ideas in Europe and for Europe. Another visitor to Paris was Mike Mansfield, who also had talks with Monsieur Coupe de Murville before meeting General de Gaulle. Questioned by journalists, the leader of the Democrat Party of the American Senate limited himself to saying that he had come to see General de Gaulle in order to discuss general problems. Near Paris, Orly Airport now has a 4th runway. Until now, the 3 existing runways could not be used simultaneously, which limited the capacity of the airport to 35 to 40 takeoffs or landings per hour. The new runway, which is longer than the others, will increase this capacity to more than 80 takeoffs and landings per hour. This runway has also meant the building of a new control tower placed next to the air terminal. New airport buildings are also planned. These will enable Orly to reach its maximum capacity of 8 million passengers every year. Among the facilities offered to these passengers is a new hotel, the Orly Hilton, just a stone's throw from the air terminal. Here, the air traveller or the businessman can find a really comfortable room fitted with every modern luxury. In all, there are 268 rooms, all perfectly soundproofed. There is no need to add that the other facilities of the hotel are up to the same standard. Far from Paris, on the shores of the Mediterranean, a new French oil tanker has just been launched. This modern ship, which displaces 66,000 tons, was built in less than 30 months. It is equipped with 2 separate radar systems. 37 men form the crew of this floating monster, which has an overall length of 792 feet. Each crew member has his own room. The control instruments are all grouped in a soundproof cabin. The holds have a capacity of more than 1 million cubic feet, a new way of bringing faster supplies to French industry. For more than 3 centuries, a former royal workshop, nowadays the French company of Saint-Gobain, has been making glass. Glass, this magical substance which brought light into the life of man, is now used in every field of industry, building, and even space research. Once upon a time, the production of glass was a specialized trade. It was a difficult, hard trade, but it was full of tradition. Today, automatic machines have replaced the glass blower, and the modern glass industry, aided by science, now produces substances which are a very long way from the ordinary glass we know. There are now glass ball bearings. Glass fibre used in medicine. Glass which darkens automatically in light. Flexible glass. And even glass through which you can drive nails. But man cannot be replaced everywhere, and it is in fine crystal work that man returns to his trade. Another industry which is somewhat humbler, but which is perhaps slightly more human, is the toy industry. With Christmas fast approaching, this industry is working as hard as it can go, and this year, more than ever, toys are closely linked to modern life. But the old toys are still the best, and the little ones are still faithful to the good old teddy bear and the rocking horse. The French toy industry is a very large one, for it employs more than 20,000 people, and its production supplies 4/5 of the French market. That old favourite, the doll, has taken on a new face, for its head and body are now made of plastic. But once the hair has been placed in position, this slightly barbarous treatment gives way to the art of the dressmaker, which in turn leads to real fashion shows. But children are the same all over the world, and this is perhaps why the French toy industry exports toys worth more than 100 million francs every year. The statue of Georges Clemenceau in Paris recalls for many French people the 1914-18 war and the Allied victory. Clemenceau, nicknamed the Tiger, was the man who led France to victory. And this is why, on the 11th of November, people come to pay tribute to him. The 11th of November, 1918, a great date in history. After 4 years of fighting, the exhausted soldiers awaited the coming of yet another hard winter. But on the 8th of November, at Rotonde, in the presence of the representatives of America, England, and France's other allies, Marshal Foch met the German envoys sent to negotiate the conditions of an armistice. 3 days later, on the 11th of November 1918, the armistice was signed, and 6 hours later, all fighting stopped. To his tired but triumphant soldiers, Marshal Foch said, "You have won the greatest battle in history. You may be proud." Today, the French remember, and it is with gratitude that they honor the ex-servicemen of the First World War and those who fell at their sides. This is why, as every year, the President of the Republic went up the Champs-Élysées to rekindle the flame which burns incessantly over the remains of the unknown soldier, and to shake the hands of the proud survivors of a war which cost the lives of nearly 9 million soldiers and civilians. After the ceremony at the Arc de Triomphe, General de Gaulle laid a wreath in memory of Clemenceau. Then, leaving his car and official escort, the head of state walked through the crowd to the Élysée Palace.
Back to 912, on the way to Pelorus Sound. These unique shots taken early this century show the legendary dolphin Pelorus Jack as he delighted thousands of travelers for nearly 30 years, guiding their ships past Pelorus Sound. Protected by Parliament, Jack gained a worldwide reputation, which lingered on long after his mysterious disappearance in 1916. From Pelorus Sound to the Hokianga Harbour 40 years later, in the summer of 1956, where the few residents of a tiny seaside village called Opononi quickly took the protection of a second friendly New Zealand dolphin into their own hands. What's the way to Opononi? That was the question asked as sightseers from all over the country flocked to the sleepy hollow of the Hokianga, drawn by reports of a tame dolphin called Opo, which every weekend drew hundreds of cars and buses and the first traffic cop in the township's history to Opononi. Overwhelming the tiny population of 40, crowds thronged the beach. Business boomed and overseas tourists changed their minds about hot pools and headed north to Opononi. Thousands came to see a friendly dolphin. Opo, classified as a bottlenose dolphin, initially thought to be male, was discovered at the end of a short life to be female. She was first noticed when she approached launches and dinghies. The beginnings of friendship came when it was discovered she was playful. She liked a tickle under the chin or a scratch on the back. Growing bolder, she headed closer into shore. There, a 12-year-old local girl, Jill Baker, took over the job of training. Opo appointed herself Jill's swimming coach, and Jill, in her turn, helped the Dolphin overcome fear of human beings. From beginning to end, Opo kept Jill at the top of her list of favorite humans, responding to her every gesture like a household pet. With gentleness, Jill paved the way for friendship between man and wild sea mammal that in a few short weeks was to become famous, as Opo, growing tamer, learned to play. Petting and tickling the dolphin soon became a national pastime. Opo's popularity grew, as everywhere was told New Zealand's best fish story in years, like the popular song written by Opo and composer Crombie Murdoch.
I'm Opo the crazy dolphin, the kids think I'm mighty. When I give them all a fishy back right and a game of ball in the swishy tide, I'm one fish that'll never get fried, unserved in batter for tea, and I live at open only by the sea.
Everybody loves him at open only bay. He's such fun for old and young, they all want him to stay. He's Opo the crazy dolphin, he's friendly as can be.
If you should want to learn to swim, you couldn't do better than learn from him. He'll very soon get you in.
And giving instructions free, down the good old open only by the sea. Opo, Opo.
Some people just have all the luck. And what a sight to see from a pub. I never thought I'd see a bottlenose dolphin tossing a bottle. Opo's version of water polo drew the crowds. Toss and dribble. Easy when you're a dolphin. Here, you have a go. Pensioner Frank Druitt was made Opo's official custodian. He kept an eye on the crowds, but only to see they weren't too rough. Opo liked a game of ball with friendly swimmers. Opo's specialty, a double fin flip back loop slam. Who's going to get the ball? The dolphin wins hands down. The human race just isn't in the race. Through all one warm summer, sunshine and laughter by the sea, Opo excelled herself in building up a repertoire of entertainment for those who came to watch and play. But these were to be her last days. Soon the sea was to claim back its own. Opo, the dolphin friend of thousands of New Zealanders, was to be found dead, stranded on rocks near Opononi. A friend for a summer, already, like Pelorus Jack, a legend.
is the story of an island of romance. Naturally, it begins as all such stories should begin. Once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was a bold Spanish explorer whose name was Juan de Bermudez. Now this Senor Bermudez dreamed of discovering the wealth of the Indies. So he set the sails of his gallant ship and turned his course to the west, out across the uncharted vastness of the broad Atlantic Ocean. It was in the year 1515, after many weeks of sailing, that he landed on a tiny, unknown group of islands. In Bermuda's honor, the islands were named Bermuda. But the Spaniards sailed away, and not until another 100 years had passed were the islands claimed and colonized by the English. Today, 3 centuries later, the British flag still flies over the islands, and in other lands, we still find eager explorers Bermuda bound. At sea, you have a chance to soak up the sunshine, fill your lungs with fresh, salty air, and discover that your appetite suddenly seems a lot keener than it was yesterday. Yes, life on a luxury liner is easy to take, but if your vacation time is short and you like to fly, the finest modern planes are Bermuda bound every day. Winging through a sky-high wonderland in ease and comfort, those who come by air first see Bermuda as a bird's-eye map of tiny islands spread out below, while those who come by sea wind in through a narrow channel where those same tiny islands seem almost close enough to touch the ship. As you steam into the beautiful harbor of Hamilton, Bermuda's capital, the golden early morning sunshine seems to symbolize the warmth of your welcome. Always a busy seaport since the days of the great clipper ships, the islands now have a big international airport, only a few hours from everywhere. New York, Toronto and Montreal in Canada, Washington, D.C. and other coastal cities, London, England, Europe, or Mexico City. Arriving by plane or ocean liner, you'll find landing formalities courteous and brief. And before you know it, you're on your way to the hotel or guest house of your choice, by carriage or by taxi. The ride to your hotel is your first close-up glimpse of the island's beauty, an intriguing promise of more to come. Speaking of hotels, if you make your hotel reservation ahead, and of course you should, you can pick your vacation home to suit both your taste and your pocketbook. You can choose any part of the islands. There's old world atmosphere, gay gathering places for swimming, dining, and dancing, famous golf courses, all in restful settings of semi-tropic greenery and flowers. Or you can choose one of dozens of smaller hotels, guest houses, and cottage colonies which are found in every part of the islands. All in delightful settings with a wide variety of accommodations from simple home-like atmosphere to complete hotel service. A delicious breakfast served in your cottage overlooking the sea sets the leisure mood for a day of exploration. An ideal way to go is on a bicycle. You rent them by the day or week, each equipped with a big basket to carry lunches, cameras, and beachwear. They say that once you learn to ride a bike, you never forget how. Well, here's a chance to find out. If you're an American, don't forget that British rules of the road are different. Here you keep left instead of right. A favorite spot for island explorers is the great white lighthouse that stands on Gibbs Hill in the parish of Southampton. From one of the highest elevations in the islands, the light's powerful beam has guided mariners for more than a century. Inside the tall iron tower, a stairway spirals to the top. It's quite a climb, but take it easy and you'll be glad you made it. When you step out on the circular balcony, you look down on a view that's sure to be one of the sights you'll always remember. The enchanting islands that make up Bermuda are really the peaks of a sea-covered mountain range that rises from the floor of the Atlantic. The 4 larger islands and the scores of tiny ones are surrounded by a great protective coral reef. The actions of wind and water and coral insects working for countless thousands of years have created a fairyland seashore of weather-beaten cliffs and crags, of iridescent water, crystal clear, that ranges in color through every shade of green and blue. Dozens of tiny coves with soft sands of white and pink. Often, a whole beach to yourself makes you feel like a real explorer on an uninhabited isle. An isle whose sparkling waters invite you to some of the finest swimming on the face of the earth. Whose rugged shores conceal 1,000 scenic picnic spots, just waiting for you to find them. Your hotel or guest house will pack a tasty lunch to take along on your day of biking or hiking. Do you like to fish? Then bring your tackle. For if you've ever dreamed of fishing in paradise, here is where your dream comes true. The waters of the islands teem with fish of endless shapes, sizes, and colors. From big game fish that range the deep sea outside, to countless smaller varieties, including the famous bonefish that inhabit the coral reefs and the protected shallows inside. Pompano is a favorite for surf casting. Which will it be this time? Yes, it's a pompano. Not big, but as delicious to eat as it is beautiful to look at. If you'd like to know more about Bermuda fish, visit the government aquarium, where you'll enjoy a wonderful display of tropic marine life. Or not far away, there's another famous aquarium, a natural one called Devil's Hole, where, believe it or not, they actually encourage you to go fishing. There are baited lines, and you always get plenty of bites. But the turtles and fish seem to enjoy the fun as much as you do, for there are no hooks on the lines, and whatever you catch always gets away. At the northeast end of the islands lies the old town of St. George's, first capital of Bermuda and once its leading seaport. At the entrance to the spacious harbor, you can visit Gates Fort, one of 8 originally built to guard the town against enemy attack. Over the fort flies a replica of the British flag as it looked when the town was founded in the year 1612. Among the many other things to see in St. George's is venerable St. Peter's Church, built on one of the oldest Anglo-Saxon church sites in the New World. The quaint old streets of the town have intriguing names, some of them even a choice of names. And a pleasant way to see them is to go at the leisurely pace of a traditional Bermuda carriage. The horses seem to know the way by themselves, and the coachman will take down the top if you want to enjoy the sunshine. From your first honeymoon to your silver honeymoon, the charm of Bermuda grows. There's something to interest everyone. Many are fascinated by Bermuda's architecture. From the weathered white houses in St. George's to more colorful ones in other parts of the islands, Bermuda homes have a distinctive style. Born in 17th century England, but skillfully adapted to the needs and climate of the islands. At first, you'll find it hard to guess the age of a house, because you'll notice that new houses like this have many of the same features as homes like this, built 2.5 centuries ago. You're intrigued by the unusual stairways, the beautiful chimneys, and you're surprised to learn that the whole house, even the strange-looking roof, is made of stone. It's the natural material to use because Bermuda is mostly sandstone. In the hillside quarries, the stone cutters separate big columns, using chisels on the ends of long poles. To an experienced quarry worker, testing the resonance of the stone reveals its quality. The freshly quarried coral sandstone is so soft it can be cut to size just the way you'd saw up wood. But exposed to the weather, it gets harder and harder as the years go by. Stone for the roof is sawed from big blocks, just like slicing up a loaf of bread. The slices are called slates. Sometimes all the stone needed to build a house can be quarried right on the building site itself. The slates are cemented in place most carefully, for every roof is designed to catch its share of precious rainwater, the Bermuda householder's only source of water supply. An overall coating of cement softens the sharp contours of the stone, and finally the roof gets a lime wash of glistening white. Rain falling on these clean white roofs is run off into stone tanks built into the ground. These tanks are often the cemented excavations from which the stone for the house itself was cut. Much of the charm of the island homes lies in their soft pastel colors and in their landscaping with semi-tropical plants and flowers. Here the climbing bougainvillea displays its colorful blossoms. The brilliant royal poinciana spreads its branches over old garden walls. Lovely hibiscus may be soft pink or flaming red. There's the delicate golden shower, the strange-looking bird of paradise, the exotic beauty of the frangipani, and the night-blooming cereus, which closes its petals before the coming of dawn. It's a year-round pageant of color and fragrance. Poinsettias in winter, oleanders in summer, and in spring, Easter lilies. Growing the bulbs is an old Bermuda industry, but now, by air, even fresh-cut flowers are sold all over the world. The Easter lily, too, is one of the blossoms used here for the making of natural flower perfumes. Another is the rare and exotic passion flower. This exquisite blossom was named by those who saw in its intricate structure many of the symbols of Christ's passion, including the faithful disciples, the cross, and the crown of thorns. The flowers which bloom each morning are gathered for perfume making before they begin to lose their fragrance. Their perfume is captured by the old world process called enfleurage. The first step is to place the flowers in glass trays or boxes, lined with a special preparation which absorbs the fragrance. But so delicate is the scent of the passion flower that fresh blossoms must be placed on the same trays every day for 100 days before enough fragrance has been collected. The entire process of extraction, blending, and aging takes a year and a half before the perfume is finally bottled. Only a few such products are labeled Made in Bermuda. Yet the city of Hamilton is a famous shopping center, often called the showcase of the British Empire. As you drive or stroll around, you see familiar names on every hand. Some of the shops have served both Bermudians and visitors for 100 years or more. Styles for masculine attire include those comfortable Bermuda shorts and beautifully tailored English jackets and topcoats. The ladies can find wonderful materials for every use, including the incredibly soft and colorful weave called Bermuda doeskin. There are tweeds and Shetlands, cashmeres and jerseys, solid colors and plaids, in yard goods or ready-made for everyone in the family. Shop after shop is stocked with the finest of English china, silverware, and cutlery. Careful shoppers can save money, for generous allowances can be brought back by visitors duty-free. Almost every shop has its own famous specialties. You can do your birthday, Christmas, or anniversary shopping any time of the year. The famous French perfumes, Parisian handbags and specialties of every sort, wonderful cashmere sweaters for the whole family, famous English pipes for the menfolk. There's shopping fun for everybody. And don't forget to leave room in your luggage for all the things you'll want to take home. The waters of Bermuda attract sailboats of every size and design. Most unique is the Bermuda dinghy, a racing acrobatic midget only 14 feet 1 inch in length, which carries more sail for its size than any other recognized class. No boat in the world is more exciting to race or more beautiful to watch. But for everyday sailormen who enjoy running before a good breeze without the danger of being tossed overboard at any moment, this sort of sailing craft provides all the thrills you need. You can rent a boat complete with pilot or go exploring by yourself. With water as crystal clear as this, you're not likely to run your craft aground, even on such a tricky maneuver as approaching the smallest drawbridge in the world, the famous old Somerset Bridge in Sandys Parish. Just aim straight and you'll find willing hands ready to help you through. The bridge is only a single width of wooden planking, but $1 million steel giant couldn't be more fun to navigate. Of course, for everyone who sails, there are scores who go in for other sports. The popular beach clubs appeal to almost everyone, and many of the guest houses are right on the water's edge. Bathing is the safest in the world. The only danger is that tricky old sun. So better use that lotion and start out by taking your suntan a few minutes at a time. In addition to their own beaches, most of the big hotels have wonderful saltwater pools where you can disport yourself either in or out of the water. And if high diving or swimming or sunbathing isn't exciting enough, maybe a whirl on ski will be more your style. That's the fun of Bermuda. You can do what you like. Play tennis on the finest of courts, or enjoy yourself from the sidelines. You might see a fast soccer match, or you might be lucky enough to be on the islands during a celebration such as the King's birthday and see a bit of the colorful pomp and ceremony that goes with British tradition. For devotees of the swinging club and the flying ball, Bermuda's famous golf courses are unsurpassed, enjoyed by professionals and amateurs from around the world. You may be just a dub, but in surroundings like this, who cares even if you miss an easy one? Delicious food is waiting for you at your hotel or guest house or club, or at one of the fine restaurants or historic spots like famed Old Tom Moore's Tavern, often visited by the famous Irish Pope. And don't forget that life in Bermuda begins all over again when the sun sinks in the west. There's relaxation before dinner on a balmy outs, delicious food and entertainment at a score of popular hotels, restaurants, and clubs. Yes, night and day, things to do and see in Bermuda are endless, something for every taste. But there's one universal hobby that makes added fun of all the rest: photography, in snapshots or movies. What better way to capture and preserve the rain trip, the new friends you made, the gay color of your favorite beach, or the peaceful quiet of a tiny hidden cove? Mother and the girls window shopping in Hamilton, the winding streets of Old St. George's, the charm of your Bermuda home, flowers against a brilliant sky, cycling on a country road, or the fast-moving thrill of water sports. These and countless other souvenirs on film can keep you company when finally you must leave the sparkling islands of romance. Vivid pictures, moments of color and fun to show your friends back home, scenes to keep your precious memories alive Until that happy day when once again you find yourself Bermuda